This is one of the events that we put on every year for San Francisco Zine Fest, which is this upcoming Sunday. Super glad that we're here at Silver Sprocket again and that they are willing to have us back somehow every year. So here we are right now. You know that. SF Zine Fest is fiscally sponsored by Intersection for the Arts, so big thanks to them for being our supporters. Because San Francisco Zine Fest is an official nonprofit and they help ease the troubles that come with official status. So our guest of honor this year is Eddie On, who is a self-taught artist. Eddie On is a self-taught artist and creator of Advocate, which is a brand new graphic memoir that I highly suggest you all get. I'm planning on getting my copy, hopefully today. If you do you have copies?
I personally don't have copies.
Okay.
Does the store have copies? No.
We hope that the store has copies soon. Great. So that was just published in April, and for over 15 years, you've been a nonprofit attorney and the executive director of a San Francisco-based environmental justice nonprofit. So that is really awesome. And you do so many other things, which I'll let you talk about later. No, actually, let's hear about them now.
Yes.
What do you want to say about yourself?
Oh, hi, everybody. So I'm not the featured really guest of tonight in the sense that I won't be giving a presentation, but I am very pleased to introduce to you each of the extremely talented artists you're about to hear from today. As some of you know, so I'll do maybe two fun announcements. As some of you know, I work for a nonprofit called Bright Line Defense, and on your way out the door, you can grab yourself a bag in the corner. It's a map of San Francisco, and ideally, you're going to fill it up with a bunch of books that you'll get from Silver Sprocket today. But really, it's meant to be a gift for you for even making the time to come out tonight. So thank you so much for making this effort. And then please enjoy the wine in the corner too. That's also meant to be, maybe don't drink it all up front, but a glass later, as you please. But it's very nice to meet you and looking forward to talking to more of you after this event as well.
Thanks for bringing the refreshments.
Oh, yeah.
So looking over this, by the way, I didn't know I was going to be the MC tonight, so here we are. So let's get into the next thing. So San Francisco Zine Fest, we've been around since 2001. I believe this is our 23rd annual. And we used to be in Golden Gate Park. Maybe some of you were lucky enough to see us in that location. But we've since moved downtown to a more accessible, air-conditioned, bartable location that is a lot easier for people to get to and get around, with more distance between tables for COVID safety, which we still value a lot, and we're requiring masks at the fest this Sunday. This year we have 230 artists. I never really know if the number is accurate because sometimes people add or can't make it or table with somebody else, but it's so many artists, and I'm so excited to meet everybody and see everybody's new work if they've exhibited before, and a lot of first-timers and kids who make zines. Very much hoping that you all make it. And we also are going to have some zine workshops, a screen printing workshop, giveaways from San Francisco Public Library, and panelists. We also have a safer spaces policy that we require all volunteers and exhibitors to take care of each other, essentially, and agree to this as part of being in our event. And you can find that on our website. More about basically respecting each other and being cool. Tomorrow night, we are going to have our annual kickoff party at Mission Comics and Art, just a few blocks away on Mission Street. We're going to play bingo with prizes. There's going to be free food and beverages. We really like to host this so that people, especially coming from out of town for Zine Fest, get something to eat. It's probably not a super profitable business to be in, but oftentimes, also people just want to come to meet everybody. So please come to that. And it's Mission Comics and Art's 15th anniversary. Then on Sunday, we have San Francisco Zine Fest. Yay! From, It's actually Sunday, September 3rd. I didn't edit the PowerPoint fully. No, it's Sunday, September 1st. It's this Sunday. Yeah, it's this Sunday. So don't show up anywhere on September 3rd. It's this Sunday from 11 to 5. And then Eddie's wonderful panelist talk is not going to be on September 3rd. And that's probably going to be from 3 to 4 p.m. But with how I edited this, you never know. And this is the beautiful, gorgeous, amazing poster that Eddie has designed for this year's fest. Then we have the after party that night on September 1st from 7 to 9:30 back here. So definitely show up for that. And now I'm going to turn it over to Eddie to have the artists introduced. And then just let me know if you need anything.
Sounds good. Thanks, Michaela. So I'll maybe describe the process for which each of the artists and how I've come to know them, even briefly through social media as a space. Myself, some of you may know, I started really self-publishing autobiographical comics on Instagram back at the early days of the pandemic. So for a long time, I did zine work, so fictional stories, and as early as 2012 and tabled through SF Zine Fest. It was only until February 2020 that I started publishing the Instagram comics that now exist today and have been wrapped up into the book that's now being published. At the time, it was a very personal endeavor. I wasn't quite sure if there was going to be an audience for it. I didn't really know if it was really the right move to make. But through the growth of that Instagram account, I've met these incredible artists that I'm very, honored to introduce you today. And the first of them is Mary Shyne. Mary Shyne, should we toggle perhaps to Mary Shyne's bio?
Sorry.
Okay.
And then I'll switch it over to your presentation.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
Hi.
thanks.
Yeah. But what I'll do is essentially I'll spend 10 seconds introducing each speaker, and then I'll just let them do their own thing at that point. But Mary, I got to meet through the illustrious Charles Schulz Museum in Santa Rosa, and it's the talent you'll see alone, I think, for each of these artists is really apparent on the screen. I really personally admire them as artists, how they interpret line, how they interpret, expressions. It's all really a huge treat. So without further ado, Mary, please take it away.
Hi.
And one question I'll ask each panelist for them to essentially self-promote themselves is, how did you reach your Instagram handle? Yeah. So please.
Awesome. Thanks, Eddie. So my Instagram handle for the longest time was Myrtle Willoughby because it was the train station I lived off of in Brooklyn. But then I realized I have to synchronize my social media accounts. But Mary Shyne everywhere was taken because I have some cousins with my name. And I thought about it. I'm like, should it be real Mary Shyne? Should it be Mary Shyne Speaks? But then I'm like, no, I can make an awful rhyme. So it is Mary Shyne Online. All right. Let me just, okay, cool. There we go. Okay. So today I am going to be reading from my upcoming graphic novel called You and Me on Repeat. It's coming out in May 13th of 2025. And before I start, I do just want to thank Eddie for inviting us here. Because Eddie, oh my God, I admired Eddie's comics forever on Instagram. And then I finally got to meet him because of the studio. So it's just been a treat. Seguing back to this, so You and Me on Repeat is the basic premise of this story is that it's on graduation day and they get caught in a time loop. But for this excerpt, it is the night of graduation and they're at an after party. Our protagonist, Chris, has just tried to kiss his girlfriend for the very first time. But unfortunately, the cops broke it off and they both went in different directions when they were fleeing the scene. And Chris ends up running away from the party with Alicia, who is the valedictorian and his former childhood friend. And Alicia has been acting very strange this whole day. And that is what introduces us to these pages. But as soon as she was no longer darting around backyards like a suburban super spy, it became evident that while Alicia had gotten us out of the party, I would need to be the one to get her home. Hold on. I think it's very important we acknowledge. I was cursing my luck. I'd wanted to end that night in Andy's arms, and here I was instead with a girl who'd lost her mind. But things were about to turn around. Check it out, Leash. Your graduation speech is doing numbers on TikTok. And this is her graduation speech where she went extremely off book. Hell yes, I knew giving Junior my login instead of Rosa was the right choice. Oh man, nearly 1 million? That's even better than last time. People are even using the sound. Let's see what they're posting. Crack. Josh fucking Peterson is using my audio and already has more likes? This injustice won't stand. Chill, Alicia. The point is, your speech was bomb. Can't you just be happy? She cannot. Can I ask you something? That speech, there's only the present. It seems kind of like a radical philosophy switch. Do you really believe it? I don't believe it. I know it. I live it. Since when? This morning? Did you manage to kiss Andy this time? What? How did you? Relax, everyone knew. Raoul wouldn't shut up about it. Motherfucker. But no, the cops got here before we could. This was supposed to be the night, you know? She wants it to be special, so do I. I just feel like if we'd had a half hour more, if I brought her to the backyard sooner, or if we hadn't gotten separated, I just wish I had a do-over. The magic words. Now that is something I can help you with. For the unfamiliar, let me introduce you to a Midwestern institution, Meyer, aka Buyer, for legal reasons. You're gonna help me with a Megamart? Watch and learn. Meyer is the only place where you can grocery shop, peruse lingerie, and buy a pet rodent at 3 a.m. Getting warmer. Wow, is this a VHS? Bingo. What the? What the hell is it? Your ticket to as many do-overs as you want. Shit, don't be afraid. Just think of it like a grown-up time crystal dragon defender. The real magic happens when you jump through. I can go in first if you want. You can go in face first, technically, but I'm a fraidy cat. See you on graduation day, bud. Wait! Reflecting back, I can't believe I did it. Maybe it was something left over from childhood. Maybe there was still something about Alicia's fantasy games I couldn't resist. And if, somehow, it could give me another shot at the perfect moment with Andy, this is so freaking dumb. And into the tunnel he goes. That's all I have today. Thank you.
So the next person, I also met through Instagram, but also then in person in Santa Cruz. And please come on up.
Thank
Raty is a very gifted, multimedia talented person. You can see, for instance, a particular sculpture, you would say, or a wooden cutout that you should go appreciate after also the show. But maybe you can also describe how your Instagram handle
my
came to be.
Instagram handle. Hello, everyone. It's really good to be here with you tonight. My Instagram handle is the Numpy, which I actually have published until very recently under Numpy as a pseudonym, and it comes from the old license plate on my mom's Jeep that she had growing up, and it's Numpy is instead of a yuppie, which is like young urban professional, it's non-upwardly mobile person, and I still have the license plate, and I bring it with me to festivals, and that's where it comes from. And I've just been using my own name because Numpy ended up becoming more confusing and having more names rather than being a quick moniker to use. But yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. And as Eddie said, the algorithm blessed me with discovering Eddie's work several years ago, and I've always felt a lot of resonance with it. And also thanks to Silver Sprocket, who from day one of my first zine was like, yeah, we want to have your zine in the store, and has just been really supportive. So it's great to be here. I'm going to read tonight a large portion, and give me a time check if it drags, of a recent comic that I released called Sheep Mowing Heels, Grazing for Health, Engagement, Aesthetics, Labor, and Sustainability. This is a research project, so we're shifting gears firmly into the creative nonfiction realm, research nonfiction realm. And it's a project that I co-authored with Haven Kears, who's a professor of landscape architecture at UC Davis, and about 20 or 30 of her student interns that have a program with sheep grazing. And as Eddie mentioned, I've also brought, currently, I'm unfortunately not in the business of herding live three-dimensional animals, but I have brought with me this goat from my two-dimensional herd, and you can check her out afterwards. And the cool thing about her is you can reach inside her stomach into her rumen, and you can check out plants that she eats to prevent wildfire. So it's kind of the bigger interest, and this project is a part of it. So I'll read to you about the sheep mowers. So welcome to the UC Davis sheep mowers. Ooh. My eyesight. Okay, there we go. The sheep mowers are a research project and student internship program that explores the benefits of sheep grazing on Central Campus. In the internship, students learn a variety of skills related to outreach in public spaces. And this is Haven. The Sheep Mowers project was started by Haven Kears, professor of landscape architecture. And she asks, how can we explore the educational, hang on. We're gonna see if I can do this without fogging it up. The educational, ecological, and cultural impacts of sustainable grazing practices. Haven and her students view sheep grazing through the lens of a multifunctional landscape, including all of these Richard Scarry looking elements on this little map of Davis. And this is Hannah Wayne telling me, that's my cameo on the left, generally you want the sheep to be relaxing and chewing their cud by about 11 a.m. They start grazing at 9, and that means they have enough food available to them. So the sheep that graze the Sheep Mowers events are a small group from the UC Davis Sheep Barn program. And the Sheep Barn supports research, the animal science major, veterinary programs, and a variety of student activities, including sheep showmanship competitions. So this is Sam, one of the people I worked with a lamb that she raised through that program. The Sheep Barn is staffed by students that live on site in living quarters built into the barns. Students perform daily feedings and health checks, and having live-in residents is crucial during the busy days of lambing season, especially when there are lambs that need to be bottle fed. I can't do that, fogging it up. At the end of each grazing event day, the sheep return to the barn facility on the edge of campus. Essentially, the sheep mowers leverage the pre-existing sheep program, bringing the animals closer to the student body and the general public. And by doing this, they extend the reach of the resources that make UC Davis a renowned agricultural school. The sheep mowers also draw inspiration from Frederick Law Olmsted, who is known as the father of landscape architecture. And in his 1857 design for New York Central Park, he included grazing sheep as useful pastoral features that contribute to the aesthetic and well-being of New Yorkers. And that's from a historical photo of an area of the park that I think is still known as the Sheep Meadow. And grazing animals are tended by humans throughout the world, and they have been throughout history, and these animals are often valued for much more than their meat, their milk, and their wool. So Haven talks about how she's read articles about using sheep to mow the lawn under the Eiffel Tower, and she said, come on, how cool is that? That was a major inspiration for her starting this project. And in recognition of the critical and universal role of grazing, the United Nations has declared 2026, coming up, the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists. So this is Mavi telling me a little bit about how she thinks about sheep mowing. In landscape architecture, we mostly design for humans, and here we can design for humans and animals. So this means integrating the needs of people and animals in shared overlapping spaces, which we don't often have these days. So the sheep mowers offer a space for many people to imagine what a pastoral future for California may look like. In the last 5 years, 395,753 acres in California have burned, and that statistic is as of April when I printed this. The number is now higher. In the face of increasing rates of wildfire throughout the world, grazing for fuel management has an especially large role to play in our collective future. And while a variety of tools and approaches are necessary for living with fire, the incredible ability of sheep and goats to eat quick-burning fuels is truly remarkable. By removing these so-called flashy fuels, larger, hotter fires can be prevented. So these are the things that you'll find in the belly of my dear companion tonight. Goats can even remove thistles with sharp thorns by learning to eat the plants carefully, and they can even eat poison oak. So Haven says, we like to think about what other research can be highlighted through this project. For instance, we're taking soil samples during each grazing cycle. Can we measure how much carbon can be returned to the ground through lawn maintenance grazing like this? Grasses are actually stimulated by periodic grazing and trampling, followed by rest. After 3 days with the sheep, the fresh campus lawn has been trimmed, fertilized by manure, and aerated by hooves. The grass may look dull and brown, but the plants aren't damaged. Rather, they're encouraged to grow even more vigorously. And while the commercial lamb and wool industries inevitably collapse each sheep into their commodity potential, a design perspective uncovers multidimensional possibilities. Sheep are ideal for lawn grazing work. They mow stands of grass evenly, fertilize the soil, and don't require fossil fuels. Sheep won't compact the ground as much as cattle, and they don't eat woodier plants like goats. In 2022, the sheep mowers were asked to graze at the UC Davis Contained Research Facility. This facility is home to a multitude of contagious plant pathogens, secured in carefully controlled greenhouses and labs. These samples are used for research, but they require a great deal of security. The risk of a stray rock kicked up from a lawnmower was too great in this situation. Diseases could be unleashed. The unique and gentle abilities of the sheep were needed. Of course, there isn't a singular approach or tool for landscape management that will always make sense. Many processes have their place, but what is the best or most appropriate tool for the moment? One goal of the Sheep Mowers Project is to draw attention to many different kinds of labor, whether that labor is being performed by people, machines, or sheep. So this is Mega, one of the interns. I asked everybody that I interviewed what their relationship with the sheep was like. She says, I admire the sheep. I don't think they love me. I think I tend to scare them sometimes, like if I make a sudden motion. And this is Olive. I had to flip a sheep, like physically, in my animal science class as if we were going to shear them. It was a lot harder than I expected. From that experience, I realized that they're a lot stronger than I thought. And this is Ashley. They kind of feel like our employees. They're our collaborators for sure. So while the sheep may be cute, working with them successfully requires more than admiration. It requires a lot of attunement to their way of being. The cuteness helps though, it draws in a lot of crowds. This is Abby. In a way, we're replicating the way sheep bunch and move together by creating this gathering space around them for people on campus. At the heart of all of this is facilitating connection. A huge part of the internship is public engagement, and during grazing events, a booth with materials is staffed by the interns to answer any questions. So people come up a lot to the booth and ask them about the project. Interns also screen print thrifted t-shirts featuring the Sheep Mowers logo to sell as merch, and they're very popular around campus. And the printing nights are always a fun way for the interns to spend time together and get to know everyone in the group. The Sheep Mowers also leverage the powers of social media to spread the word. So again, the blessing of the algorithm, I also met the Sheep Mowers through Instagram. And so they promote a lot of their grazing events on Instagram. And then that lower panel is from a photo of Mavi that you heard from earlier. And she was in charge of social media the year that I was there. And she would get kind of like maxed out on talking to people at the booth, and then she would, she's trained to be able to go into the sheep pen, and she would just go into the sheep pen and make TikToks for a while, and then, it would promote people coming, but she could kind of like take a break from the people and go be with the sheep. So that's her doing that. The sheep are always a popular stop for campus tour groups, of course, and the Sheep Mowers also will do things like create special programming for campus events, like Bring Your Child to Work Day. In everything that they do, art is used as a tool of social engagement. So anyone can borrow watercolors, markers, blank paper, or coloring sheets from the Sheep Mowers booth, and the sheep pen is surrounded by kids and adults alike, pausing to paint and relax. The interns will also host interactive art demonstrations to inspire and encourage engagement through watercolor or other materials. And one of the frequent co-tablers at grazing events is also Aggie Mental Health, which is a student mental health organization. And students frequently comment on how calming it is to stop and watch the sheep, especially after quizzes and exams. And that's been a huge element, like a huge dimension of what they've kind of done survey research about as part of this project. So yeah, that is what I can read for you. And now you can see a little bit of the behind the scenes. There is more in the actual comics. If you want to see the whole thing, I have copies, but you'll recognize some of these images from the comic. So here's the grazing site outside of Wixon Hall in spring 2023. Here's an image of them doing the soil core sampling, as you just saw, with the booths in the background, and then the sheep checking out what they're up to. Usually the sheep are pretty skittish, and they were kind of interested in what they were doing. And also sheep have really cute little butts, and this is just a great sheep butt photo. Here's some early kind of like getting a feel for what this was going to look like. So these were, I took a photo of people that I didn't interview everybody. There were a lot of people I worked with, but the people I did do like a structured interview with, took photos, drew pictures, took them back. Everybody wanted, everyone was very excited about these. For me, it's like using the comic as this point of collaboration where we make something together. We tell a narrative about what they're doing together. I'm drawing it and shaping it, but a lot of it was was designed and written by the interns that I was working with. And that's it. And there's the little photo from their social media from the day. You can see the sheep in the background. So we've got, the sheep returning to the sheep site. Yeah, thank you so much.
The next artist I'm very pleased to introduce you to is Sophie Wang. And there is actually additional speakers that will be coming up with Sophie, but to introduce Sophie, even as a transition from Raty, you can start to see perhaps some themes across the different artists today. I've always thought comics is like a really tough medium because you have to distill information, yet at the same time tell a visually compelling enough story. And Sophie, in some ways, has tackled some of the most difficult subject matter I can imagine, data and science. And in that way, I hope you'll find the next presentation really not just educational, but also very innovative in that regard. So without further ado, please take it away. Oh, and how did you
Eddie.
pick your Instagram handle?
I will answer that. I also want to shout out Eddie for how amazing he is at using the algorithm. I think a lot of us have mentioned we found him through like sponsored Instagram posts or things like that. Also, Eddie is very good at doing the like nonprofit director thing, and I pre-ordered your book because you reached out about it, and I already read it. It's amazing. I brought it so you can sign it. So if anybody doesn't have it yet, you should get it at SF Zine Fest or wherever Eddie has the book. Hello everybody, I'm Sophie Wang. I think it's funny the stories about handles and how there's like overlap in a lot of them. Like my name is Sophie Wang. There's approximately 4 million Sophie Wangs in the world. So like Mary, I could not get any just like straight up Sophie Wang. And so for a while, my Twitter and Instagram handles were different. I had SophCal, like SoCal, because I'm from Southern California, as my Instagram handle for a while. And then I moved to Minnesota. And I didn't give up my California ID for probably an illegal amount of time, but don't tell anybody. And I finally got a Minnesota ID. And the day that I got the Minnesota ID, I was like, okay, I should change change my handle and at least also then be able to have the same handle, so I don't have to write like draw a little Instagram icon and say like it's at SoCal, and then like draw a little Twitter bird and say it's something different there. So my current handle is at Shen Wang, and Shu was like high school nickname that comes from my Chinese name, which is Shu Fei, and then Shen is my middle name, and Wang is my last name. And now I just have one handle, which makes it a lot easier. So you might be wondering, that's Sophie you see up there. Who's Data Seuss? I want to also give 2 quick shout outs. So to Iris, who is in the audience. I would not have tabled at Zine Fest if it wasn't for Iris, who invited me to table with them, I think at LA Zine Fest and then SF Zine Fest, way back in 2019, I think. So also not that long ago, although also a long time ago. And then the other shout out, I'm gonna bring them up. Alexis and Crystal, my co-authors as Data Seuss, we created this zine together. It's called Oh, the Places Your Data Will Go. And do you wanna share a stool? We only have 2 mics. Is that okay? My 2 least touchy friends who are now being forced to sit on a chair together. And we made this as part of a collective called Free Radicals that we co-founded in 2015, along with a couple of other folks who had science backgrounds and were feeling, for various reasons, disillusioned or different kinds of political responsibilities in relation to our science. And so we started doing some work around science and social justice, reading, creating content for a blog, and then eventually making zines, and then doing, campaign work locally and workshops and things like that. So we are going to read for you Oh, the Places Your Data Will Go by Data Seuss. And I'll talk a little bit more about it after the reading. But we'll go ahead and get started. Congratulations, you are the one. After filters and angles, your photo shoot's done.
But where is the perfect selfie to go? To storage or hard drive? To stash or to stow?
No, you say, because here you'll be stuck between 7 memes and a weird-looking duck.
You can tell that this was of an age when we made this by the memes. And just as you leave, on the horizon you see a sparkling place which you head towards with glee.
Well, it's right this way. It's free 99. Just sign your name here on the black dotted line.
Instantgram.
Oh, what's this, you say? Just terms and conditions. To enter this land, we'll need your permissions.
We'll take it from here, don't you worry a bit. Our systems work hard to make you a hit.
Just enjoy the ride. Look at all your new friends. They'll shower you with likes, comments, views, and DMs.
With us, you'll go places up and down, side to side. Whatever happens, remember, it's part of the ride.
You'll zip cross country, you'll be part of a crew. Even places where labor laws are fewer than few.
There they get rid of the ones they don't need. But a special few, they let them proceed.
Oh, your path isn't over. This isn't the end. Your destiny's bigger than what you intend.
Because, dear selfie, you've got something we want. Those manicured eyebrows, that smile that you flaunt. Once your data is scrubbed, you'll be polished up good. All the measurements added, you'll look just like you should.
All of your faces make our machines go. And with thousands of you, how the money will flow.
What do they make? I'm glad that you asked. Join my friends over here. I'll show you real fast.
Here's a fun gizmo that unlocks your phone. A password's not needed when the right person's shown. Ka-ching.
Or this wonderful widget that knows Jim from Sue before your friends tag you, before it's even on view.
Mark Zuckerberg in the car.
Our most popular item is the Gotcha Cam. If you're on someone's watch list, oh gosh, you'll end up in the slam.
Yes? You look like you're gonna speak. At rallies, this helps us arrest troublemakers. What did those people do? Oh, they're photo takers.
Don't worry, young selfie. I can tell you'll be fine. But somebody's got to keep the bad ones in line. Just don't look too hard at those folks over there. We promise our system's unbiased and fair.
What was that you just said? Do you disagree? Oh, friend, you made this happen. It's your fault, you see.
You think we're the bad guys, but you had choices too. You made all the wrong ones. Now you're stuck here. Boo-hoo.
Hey, that's not true. There is a way out. Help us take down the system. Don't just sit there and pout. No, don't listen to them. There's crime all around. You'll only be safe with our machines on the ground.
Safe, you say, but who's safe from what? If you're black or brown, it's not so clear-cut.
So join us in making a world that's more just. No machines, no surveillance, abolition or bust.
First, look around you. You'll find people fighting and organizing and winning and history writing.
The cities of Oakland, San Francisco, and Somerville ban facial recognition, and with your help, more will.
In Los Angeles, the coalition, Stop LAPD Spying, dismantles the programs of police lying and prying.
If being out on the streets is where your strength lies, join the protesters demanding Amazon and ICE cut their ties.
So enough talking, persuading, and research and reading. Get moving, take action through working and leading.
I'm here when you're ready, the whole community too. When we come together, there's nothing we can't do. The end! So a little bit of context too, when we were working on this, Alexis and I and some other folks at Free Radicals were working with Stop LAPD Spying down in Los Angeles on a campaign against predictive policing, and specifically the LAPD's use of a program called PredPol, which was developed by folks in anthropology at UCLA. And so we were doing a lot of going to police commission meetings, a lot of meeting at LA Can on Skid Row with the coalition members, doing a lot of writing specifically with markers on giant Post-it notes on walls. And as part of that, we also made zines. And so there were two zines, one that was just like a what is PredPol, and there was a second zine that was what are our demands specifically that we were able to create and pass out at rallies and direct action places in LA as a way to, if you just get like a flyer, pamphlet or something at a rally, at least for me, I'll maybe read it, but I'll probably just toss it. It'll get crumpled up in my bag. But if you have something like a zine, it kind of adds value to the information that you're getting. It's something that you're more likely to keep with you, maybe share with a friend, have it live on, and be something that has like a little bit of extra value. And so I think zines have been really a part of both a story like this that is like political pop education, but also very much connected to this work, a part of the direct action kind of work that we were doing at the time. So I just want to give a shout out to that. The other fun thing about this is, so Alexis, Crystal, and I wrote this together. Crystal and I actually each illustrated about half of it, but not like first half, second half. It was like, oh, Crystal did like 4 pages, and then I did like 2 pages, and then like 2 pages. So if you get a copy, you can try and figure out if you can tell which were done by one person and which was done by the other. And it might be kind of hard because Crystal and I were looking at it the other day, and we were like, I don't remember which pages I drew. So I think I'll probably just stop there for now. I brought some other zines with me too if you want to learn about how driverless cars are shaping our country's infrastructure, or gay stories about a watershed that's educational, or this is one of the newest ones, which is about AI and how AI is being used to displace workers, and specifically union workers in the Port of Los Angeles, and really kind of takes this idea of like AI and automation and kind of pins it down to a specific case study. So it's not just like, oh, let's talk about transparency, fairness, accountability as really abstract ethical things, when there's a specific way that you can learn about what they're doing to impact communities. Oh, and also, not safe for work union Valentine's Day. Thank you.
such a treat to have the two of you also reading. How do I do this?
The final artist for tonight is someone who I consider to be a showstopper. All the artists tonight too, like I actually consider their art in very different ways to be, better than my own. Myself, I'm a very kind of studied, almost too meticulous of an artist. But the way Jane draws, you'll see on the screen, is so expressive. And when I found it originally on Instagram, I was just like, who is this person? The images were just so surreal. And then later on, like as it was actually after I had invited you to be part of SF Zine Fest, I realized you were also part of an incredible show that it was something random that I had just seen on Netflix, and I didn't even realize like you were connected to it, which was Scavenger's Reign, which I highly encourage you to all go see, because then perhaps it will create a second season. But that all said, without further ado, please, Jane, take it away. How did you create your Instagram handle too?
Oh, it's a terrible story. But first, I just want to thank you so much for inviting me here. I feel so honored. I grew up in SF, and I absolutely love Silver Sprocket, so this is huge for me to be here. As for my Instagram handle, I wish it was more exciting. A lot of people, my handle is Wa'a'a, and a lot of people think it comes from that Vine, but it's actually because one day when I was a freshman in high school, I was running up the stairs in PE, and I trip. And instead of being like, ah, or like, oh no, I go, whack, like Waluigi. And I spent the rest of the day thinking about it and how weird and embarrassing that was. And then went on to make my Tumblr account, which was Wa'a. And then when I went to make my Instagram a couple of years later, that was taken, so it became Wa'a. And then by then I had made enough work that I couldn't change it, so I guess professionally I am forever Wa'a. So I have something a little different for you guys. I don't have a reading, but I wanted to do an overview of my work and my artistic journey just because it's been on my mind, and I hope maybe some of you can relate. So I think it really, well, okay, first I just want to say I've always wanted to be an artist ever since I was little. Like I said, I grew up in SF. I went to Ruth Asawa School of the Arts in high school. I went to RISD for college, but I think this journey really starts my senior year of RISD, when in the middle of it, I get sent home because of the pandemic. And it is at home with nothing to do and no one to see that I put all of my effort into finishing my senior film, which is about 3 boys who believe that drinking beer will make them men. It's called Beer Boys. It's on YouTube if anyone wants to check it out. And it was really fulfilling. I mean, art has always been my chosen way of expression, but now that I am stuck inside, it really became my chosen way of filling my time and expressing myself. And so when I graduated, I didn't really have anything to do, so I turned to TikTok and I started posting. And the first couple of things were like, whatever, maybe like 100 views here and there. Not bad enough to stop, but not good enough to be like, oh, wow. And then I posted a comic, and that did really well. Suddenly I was getting tens of thousands of views. And the endorphins and the dopamine that I was getting was exhilarating, especially since I had nothing else to do. So I start posting and making every single day. As soon as I get up in the morning, I start drawing. And as soon as I go to bed, I have something ready to post the next day. After a month of this, I have around 100,000 followers. And this is a time of great artistic growth for me. I feel really proud of the things I made. But at the same time, I became very consumed with my social media. Creating and posting became incredibly important to me. I draw characters in clothes that I wanted to wear instead of wearing it myself. I spent all my time thinking about it, about doing it, and I became very hooked on the dopamine it gave me. My feelings and emotions became fodder for comics. I was looking for everything that I could put into my work, to a point where I think maybe it became too much. This, for example, is a comic I made about a dream I had. This revelation, and also a lot of encouragement from people online, is what led to my very first long-form comic. It's about a ghost who wears a skin suit to try to pass as human. And like I said, art has always been my way of expression, and sometimes it's a lot easier to see how that comes through afterwards. And looking back on this, it's me realizing that I have lived so vicariously through my art and my online persona that I felt a detachment from my physical self. And going outside and being perceived in the middle of the pandemic suddenly felt like putting on a skin suit that didn't feel quite right. This is them putting on that skin suit. And this is them seeing people and wanting that same connection, but feeling like they're empty. And I think a lot of my pandemic was marked by loneliness, and I really put a lot of that into my work, and I'm really proud of that work now. But after 2 years of posting consistently, I realized that I was tired and I was burnt out. Luckily, this is around the time that I got hired for my first show, Scavenger's Reign, off of Twitter of all places. And it was so incredible. I was so happy. I mean, everyone please go see it. Get us a second show or a second season. But I found something new that I could like really pour myself into. And after Scavenger's Reign, I went on quickly to work on 2 more shows, Gentry Child versus the Underworld, which will be on Netflix in December, and then Common Side Effects, which will be on Adult Swim and HBO Max in January. And it was fulfilling, and it was cool, and it was fun, but because I was putting so much of myself into my professional work, no longer did I have time to make my own stuff. And my way of expressing kind of came to a halt. And that's hard, you know? After Common Side Effects, the industry right now is not in the best place. So after Common Side Effects, work kind of became scarce. And I was like, awesome, cool. I can go back to make my own work. So I sit down and I get my little pencil ready and I'm so excited, and I realize that I don't know what I want to draw anymore. So I draw stuff that I used to really like, but suddenly it feels like pulling teeth. So then I draw stuff that I think will do well on social media, which at this point has been completely abandoned for 1.5 years, and everything flops. And I realize that the 2 measurements that I had had previously to measure my self-worth in terms of art were null. If my social media followers weren't going up and my career wasn't moving forward, what did I have? And it was a hard place to be in, but it was also a really freeing place to be in. Because suddenly I felt this pressure off of myself. I didn't have to make, art for social media, and I didn't have to make art for my job. I could figure out what I want to make for myself. And I started drawing in sketchbooks again, which is something I haven't done since college. And I started traveling and hanging out in nature and spending time with friends and just not making myself feel bad about not making work. And in that time, I was able to make things that I haven't posted and I haven't put anywhere, and I had fun doing. And it was really nice. So I'm kind of in this place right now where I'm rediscovering what I want to make and who I want to be as an artist. And I'm excited because it means a new chapter and a new place of growth. I can be weird with it. I can experiment. I want to get back into animating, which I haven't done since college. And I guess what I've realized and what I've learned is that growth is never linear. And even when it feels like you're taking a step back, you're still moving forward. And that is a beautiful thing. And it's always important to remember why you're an artist and what you make art for. So, thank you.
Cool, thank you. So we do want to have a Q&A, right?
Maybe from the audience or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you have questions, if the audience has questions, I don't know that we have a slide for it, but I understood that to be part of this lovely evening. So first of all, thank you so much to the ASL interpreters. We strive to have SFCF events be accessible in every way that we can think of. So if you have any accessibility requests, please let us know. That would have made this event better for you. And yeah, I'd like to invite Eddie back up. And I think what we can do.
Is this a traveling mic or no? Is it? Well,
I don't.
It looks like.
I don't think so. But what we can do is, I would love for you to facilitate
Okay.
answering questions and answer some of them and help figure out who they're for. I can help take questions from the audience and repeat them so that they come through well on the recording that we're doing of this. Sound good? We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to start with individual artists or ask like a question for each of everyone to answer?
In my opinion, anything goes. If somebody
Okay.
has a question and it's for everybody, great. If you have a question and it's for one of the artists, that's great too. And we can go back to the slides so that you can become familiar again with who all read tonight. Also, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm one of the co-organizers of San Francisco Zine Fest. I'm Michaela, they pronouns. Thank you all so much for coming. And yeah, I'm just here to help in whatever way you all want.
Thanks for having me. What I'll do is I'll start with a very general question then for the artists. I'll start with a very general question for the artists. And then perhaps you can start thinking through your own questions of what you would like to ask of each. So the very general question I have is, I think we can tell essentially from the art that you created what your medium of choice is, but it might be helpful for you to just articulate it and why you choose to work in the kind of medium and style that you do.
Okay, my medium of choice is digital art because I really like detailed things, and it's also really forgiving.
So my medium of choice is traditional ink drawing, which actually feels like a large category. So for me, it's like India ink on paper, but also printmaking, a lot of silkscreen and woodblock and things like that as well.
Yeah, I've gotten recently into having no single medium that I've decided to double down in. So I got really into block printing for 3 weeks, and then I've been really into sketchbooking for like 4 days. But I started making zines, just pen and paper. Well, I guess pencil and then pen on paper and then scanned. And my entire first comic zine I did that way. And then I got Procreate on an iPad and I said, oh, what if I didn't have to erase every single pencil line? And so I do most of my comic zines digitally now. But I think recently have kind of reconnected with, I think for a long time, was making art out of a responsibility, using art as a tool to engage people in conversations that I felt like values aligned with or like were important in my political work. And then a couple of months ago was on a panel with other folks who did like arts and activism stuff. And for them, all of the art was very much like the reason that they, like their activism was in the art, like engaging people with art. And I was like, damn, I guess I did get into this because I liked making art. So I've been doing a lot more just of like playing around with art, and that was kind of the what brought me into like the block printing, screen printing, doing more painting and drawing. So yeah.
Right on. Most of the stuff I do is digital, just because if somebody requests an edit, it's really quick to just go into Photoshop. But I started by doing like dip nib with like G-nibs and everything, and I really missed having the time to do that. It's just all the scanning time is what kills you. But yeah, I would love to do everything with G-nib and just the flow of ink on paper. It's so good.
There you go.
Oh.
Ready for questions from the audience?
Yes, I wanted to invite the audience, maybe come on up so you can use the mic. And we can start with like, if someone has a general question for each of the artists to answer, that would be a great place to start. Or if you have we'll pause and see if anybody has a general question for each of the artists to answer.
So you're welcome to come up if you want to, but also we can repeat your question if you prefer.
You could just speak into there.
Just want to make sure I'm not in front of the camera. I just wanted to ask, as artists, do you have any recommendations for what to do after graduation? Yeah, that's my question.
Oh man, I totally feel that. So I actually, are you talking like high school, undergrad?
Undergrad.
Okay, so for undergrad, I didn't even do anything with comics. I thought I was going to be like a short story writer. And I didn't do anything with comics until I got into a major bike accident and had a huge concussion. And then suddenly I wanted to draw everything that I was writing. So I think right after undergrad, obviously you got to make money. So, find a job that can make you money. And then just try and find that time to make your own stuff. And do you know what, do you more illustration or comics?
I'm kind of split evenly right now.
Word. Okay. Yeah, I would say just just keep illustrating and doing comic stuff and see where you gravitate, honestly.
I studied biology and Asian American studies as an undergrad. So for me, I would say, and I think this applies broadly even to art making, but I think for me when I graduated, what was important was thinking about where are my values right now as an undergrad, as a young adult, what is the kind of change that I want to see in the world, and what are the options that are open to me given what kind of skills I've developed and also what communities I'm a part of. And are there kinds of jobs that are able to kind of fill all of those? And if not, what is the work that I'm doing outside of work to be able to fill those things? So if your job isn't what your what your values aligned with, what is the work that you're doing outside of your day job, what are the communities you're part of, how are you giving back and contributing. So I guess that will be my non-job specific response to that.
Okay, I'm going to answer this question with so much authority because I've been chronically in grad school. And this is, you're asking me this question fresh out of my third period of graduating, so undergrad and then 2 master's degrees. And for me, I studied anthropology in undergrad. I have a master's in folklore and now environmental art and social practice focused MFA program. And to me, in addition to being a comics kind of nerd, I'm a social science research kind of nerd and an agriculture nerd. So, I've done a lot of things that had nothing to do with comics. I've worked in kind of local regional food systems. I used to come over to San Francisco from Berkeley and Oakland to go to No Boss meetings, which is network of Bay Area worker cooperatives, and working in the co-op scene and local food. And I think there was a long period of dormancy in my own comics practice, which was always just something I loved and did for myself and had absolutely nothing to do with what I thought that I was going to do professionally. And then the world kind of changed in that time. And suddenly everybody else started realizing you can use this medium to do really amazing things. And I'm going, yeah, I know. And then suddenly I'm seeing other people doing that and going, wait, it's happening now. I got to get in there. And so I think, for me, all of the stuff that I'm drawing and working on is derived from those other life experiences, those other periods of time where I'm immersed in whether it's a job or it's a side project. And I think collecting those experiences and having those different experiences in community all add up, all kinds of skills. So, get the money end squared away and then just keep up whatever project you're working on and make your own thing if you have to.
I really like that advice. I think that's always good advice to broaden your horizons and try a bunch of different stuff. I really believe in the power of social media for art, obviously. I think if you make the work, whatever you want to do and whatever you want to get paid for, if you make that work, I think that will lead eventually to jobs. And I think it's important to establish yourself outside of the industry to be able to break into it, whatever industry you want to break into, and to keep persevering. Even when rejection feels like imminent, just like keep making art because it's cool and you like it and you're making fun stuff, and fun stuff will find you.
I can give you a very brief answer. Right after college, I was delusional. I tried to create 5 different comic stories. One, for instance, was a crime noir story. Another was like a comics biography of Malcolm X. So my interests were all over the place. And I think it's important to experiment right after college too, because you're still like trying to figure out your own artistic voice and hone in on the style of storytelling you want to do. But I would just say try to focus as much as you can on a particular story. And then it's okay if you take a swing and a miss. Let's say you work, I know a lot of cartoonists who work at something for like 6 months or maybe even like 2 to 3 years. And then they realize, this is not really what I want it to be. But I think that focus helps you rather than just split yourself. It's not like you have to split your bets on a bunch of different things and hope something works out. I don't think that works out too well in the creative process.
Oh, can I say one more thing?
Oh, yes.
Also, if you're thinking about making your own work, I would think about who you're doing that with, not necessarily collaborating with, but like in what community. I think for me, like making the first zine and comic that I did, I don't know if I would have finished it. It came over, was made over the course of an entire year. And having a group of people who I was like accountable to of like, oh, we've decided we're gonna post every week for an entire year, which was in retrospect absolutely wild. Because most of us were like straight out of undergrad and like doing a million other things too, but like kind of that feeling of like, oh, if like I want to make this thing, but I might not make it if I'm not accountable to other people. And now that we've decided that we're gonna do this thing, now if I don't post, like we're not gonna have a post that week. And so, but it was like consensual, you know, like I had agency in this. I decided I wanted to do it, and so doing it with people who I really respected, didn't want to let down, and who we were kind of in communication together with was super helpful. So I would just think about like who you're making stuff with.
Yeah, community is so important. Community when you're right out of undergrad, huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Other questions? Any brave souls wanting to come up and ask a question?
Any questions for specific artists?
Yes, please come on up. Or you can shout it and we can repeat it. Yeah. There you go.
This is for everyone, but off of the community thing, how did y'all find artistic community?
SF Zine Fest. That's the correct answer.
I went through RISD, and I was really lucky that a lot of my friends were also artists and also ended up in LA, where I continue to live. And then, of course, social media is huge. So,
Yeah, I think I have spoken adoringly about the blessings of the algorithm, which otherwise I'm quite cynical about social media and have to kind of like make myself do my social media homework, but really enjoy the connections I've made through that, and Zine Fests. But also for me, the last couple of years, I was able to start studying printmaking, which is something that I'd always kind of felt like I was always looking like it's on the other side of a little fence and I hadn't done it before, and I'm going, I think that's my thing. And then I got to the print studio at UCSC, and it was very much my thing, and I became very, very obsessed. And something I really appreciate about that medium is that it's a communal space. It's a communal workspace where you're sharing large equipment, you're kind of taking care of the space together. It's kind of social, like people are working on their own thing in the studio, but you're also like showing each other techniques or tips, or you're troubleshooting together. And I really, really value having that kind of like workshop environment. And so that's something, if you can find, if there's a medium that you really thrive in that has that social aspect, to me, that was really huge.
Yeah, I really like that. I would recommend getting really into the Star Trek 2009 fandom because that's how Iris and I met, is being really into Star Trek fanfiction, becoming friends through a mutual friend. And then Iris asked me if I wanted to table with them. But I think I'm not going to say actually because that is actually what I would recommend. But in addition to that, I think one of the big things that's really awesome about zines and about what zines can do is that, first of all, you can make zines that are like really any sort of artistic medium. My most recent zine is a zine of 10 block prints that I made. So really, you can do anything with zines. And then once you have a zine culture is really big on like trading and like building community around zine making. So I have a lot of friends who I became friends with because we were placed randomly next to each other at Zine Fest, and then just like, be friendly to people, and then you make connections that way, and then being able to connect with them on social media afterwards, especially if you're not in the same place. And then I would say also, so I moved to Minneapolis recently, a few years ago, and I've been really grateful for kind of like the art scene there. I would say that both there and also in Los Angeles, which is where I started out making zines, one of the big things is to get involved. I've said this already, but and this is gonna be like the thing that I keep saying, is get involved in other things. Also kind of like what everybody else has been saying, what Raty is saying. If you are doing other things that you are really passionate about, you will also find artists who are doing those things, and then connecting with them. Like that was how Crystal and I connected initially, was through Free Radicals, which is around science and social justice. And now we talk a lot about making art because Crystal's also a very talented illustrator and graphic designer. And I'm very grateful to Free Radicals, which is not an art specific space, for bringing us together as artist community. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Find your interests, and even if the interests aren't art interests, dig into them. Because I got into it through, I was in the Brooklyn music scene, and I just started making flyers for my friends, and then you would get in, and then I was also making comics at the same time, and then there would be a DIY market, and then you were invited to that, and then it kind of just snowballs after a while, and suddenly you're in grad school for comics, But yeah, community is huge. Of course, there's internet community, but there's also just going to places Silver Sprocket in particular has this thing called Sketchies, where you just make a comic in one night, and it's an incredible community building effort, Plus you get to make a comic.
Can I say one more thing? I think also events are huge. I used to go to figure drawing, and I'd meet a ton of other animators there, and that was really cool. Film fest, any kind of fest, SF Zine Fest, any kind of place where there are similar like-minded individuals, you'll meet people and you'll build a community, and it'll expand from there.
Any final questions of tonight?
Do you want to answer that question, Eddie?
Oh, of where to find community for art? So I do enjoy really in-person festivals, and also, to respond to what you were commenting on, Jane, social media has really surprised me. Pre-pandemic, I used to not take a lot of stock in it, but when we're so deeply isolated, right, it became the forum for meeting, which is why it's such a blessing to have met, incredible artists that I probably never would have met otherwise. One maybe general comment I would have is I went to San Diego Comic-Con recently. That's a crazy sphere unto itself. And in some ways that there is such a thing, I think, of too much community and too much information. It's just, you can get it's almost like an assault on the senses. But at the same time, it exists for a reason. And I do think there are niches in that ecosystem to really take, find community in. And so that's been interesting.
I would like to add also volunteering at stuff. I've volunteered at music festivals, started volunteering at San Francisco Zine Fest in 2014, I think. And I am just shy, so I like having something to do. And then I get to talk to people, and then I get more comfortable, so. Any other questions? comments, praise.
Any other wrap up?
I don't think we have any other wrap up. Just again, thanks to Intersection for the Arts for fiscally sponsoring SF Zine Fest, and hope to see you all at the fest on Sunday. Please feel free to come up and ask me questions about it, or ask anyone else questions if you prefer a one-on-one conversation. And hang out and support the shop.
Enjoy
Thanks
some
for
wine.
Silver
Take a
Sprocket.
bag.
Take a bag.